On the next session of Get Caught in a Net.
Get caught in a net with Annette. For your mind, body, and soul. Get caught in a net with Annette. It's your intellectual radio show. Here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with Annette.
You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your hosts, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey guys, welcome to another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. I'm your host, Annette Harris. I want to thank you in advance for watching and or listening. We appreciate you in advance on today. I always say if you see my face around noon on a Wednesday, means it is time for you to come on and get caught in the net. I know we got a lot of things going on in the world, but you know what? We are going to have a great conversation on today. So I ask when you come into the live feed on my page, Annette, Get Caught in a Net, that you would do me a humongous favor and go ahead and click that share button for us. What you're doing, you're sending it out, you're reminding individuals that we're on, and they don't want to miss this, and we don't want them to miss it. You can also tag individuals into the comments section to have them come into the live feed so that they can be alerted and they can watch. And then I also ask that you would click that share button, click it, click it, click it. It costs you nothing, costs you nothing. We are here on my Facebook page. Again, Annette GetCaughtInANet. I am live on my Instagram account right now. So you guys over on Instagram, thank you so much for joining us on today. At the end of this segment, we are going to upload the audio and visual portion to my YouTube channel. And if you go to YouTube at that time, you can type in Get Caught in a Net. And let me do this. I must acknowledge my Lord because he is my strength. Lord, we thank you for all things. We thank you for your great blessings. We thank you for this beautiful day. We are here. We are live to see it. And you're doing great things. And for that, we are glad. Get the glory out of this segment in the name of Jesus, we pray. And the opening part of Hosea 4:6, it states, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And we're glad to be here again. Another day, another week, another opportunity to come and give you wonderful radio programming. And this segment on today, you guys, I was made aware of what this month of July is. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't know. I didn't know that July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And Dr. Graham, I had her on my show, was it last month? And then I had Katherine Staten on my show. I don't know why I threw your middle name in there, give your whole government name, Katherine, I'm sorry. But but I had her on as well. And so these are individuals who are in the mental health industry in their own right. And they listen to each other. I think they listen to each other's lives. And we made the connection. And so we talked about trying to do something with them where we can have a sort of a meeting of the minds, if you will, regarding mental health. And so we gathered on today, decided on today that we will have a segment talking to the two of them. Now, you don't see Dr. Graham is here with us, but we're gonna show you her picture when she's talking. But she is here in the virtual house with us on today. Dr. Graham, how are you feeling on today?
I am doing well. Thank you. How are you, Annette?
I'm doing well. I am doing so well. I'm so glad that you are with us on today and going to share your expertise with us. I'm always excited to hear from you. Always, always. And Katherine, how are you feeling on this afternoon?
I am feeling great. Glad to be here with you again. And so glad to virtually meet Joyce Graham. And excited about our discussion. We always have a good discussion, so I'm excited to be here again.
Yes, yes, yes. Some may call us psychology nerds or mental health nerds. I don't know. Maybe they will, because that's like our interest. I was like, we're kids in a candy store whenever we have these discussions, but it's really because there's such a need for these discussions. And I think I may have said it with Dr. It might have been also with you, Katherine. I'm actually pleased, if you will, that it seems like the world is kind of going more in the direction of desiring to talk about mental health issues or struggles or whatever. And it's refreshing to see, I guess I want to say, because so long it has been taboo. You don't talk about that. Yes. And there's nothing wrong with me mentally. What do you mean? Or something like that. But I see it more and more, whether it's in the entertainment industry, athletes. You see more and more people are being more and more open to discussions, and then also more and more open to receiving help whatever help they
Mhm.
need.
Yes.
And acknowledge, I should have said, start off with that first, and acknowledging that's what they are dealing with and or need help in. Would you agree with that, Katherine?
Definitely, definitely. And I'm so glad you said that. And I also want to say, you know, when I'm on with you, I like to say thank you for providing this platform to do just that. You weathered the storm. We hopefully we on the other side of COVID, and you're still here helping the people. And so I always want to say that because we need these platforms to do just that. And I can remember when I found out about I talk a lot about ACEs. And when I found out about the research, it was like 10 years after it had been done. And it just opened my eyes to so many things and validated so many of my feelings around families that I was serving in a human service occupation. And
Right.
so, as you struggle to make things relevant and to bring people in to your space that may not be comfortable talking about what you want to talk about, this has provided somewhat of I don't know if I can't think of anything, maybe you can help me with this. This new awakening has provided somewhat of a perfect storm. Because now I think we are because of that enlightenment, because of the ability for, like you said, celebrities like Taraji Henson, who has her foundation, coming out with her father and his mental health, and some of the things that she's talked about herself in terms of her trauma. And I think all of these things coming together, it has definitely helped when we seek to, put things like, oh, everybody, it's like everybody's talking about it. Finally, hopefully, we can become more comfortable and help people. And so, like you said, I'm all in for it.
Right. Oh my goodness, you said a whole lot there. And Taraji, yes, I do recall that she started her foundation. A lot of things were built on the fact of what she dealt with her dad. And, then there were some personal things that she went through,
Yes.
mentally as well. So, yeah. But I mean, thank you for that. I mean, I feel that, something like this, you absolutely have to, you can't let it go. I always say the quickest way to get help is to admit you need it. But we can't, especially as it's starting to come out of the corner and it's starting to come out from under the rug. We can't push it back down. Let's just deal with it. There may be some times it may not even feel good to talk about this stuff. But you just have to deal with it. You just have to deal with it. Mama Joyce, I always
Yes,
call her
ma'am.
mom. I call her Mama or I call her Dr. Joyce. I have all kind of names for her. But can you jump in on this?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And I agree with Katherine. She hit on some really relevant things and important things. And I totally agree with her. And also, not only have we, some of us have struggled with mental health as individuals, but we as an entire nation have struggled. Even before COVID, there have been shootings, mass shootings, school shootings, crime in almost every state. And we have really been dealing with some things. And I think I mentioned it to you, Annette, that we have not been able to catch our breaths. It's just been one thing after another. And we haven't had a chance to really brace for the next thing. And so we who are in the mental health profession surely do see and empathize with people who are struggling.
Yeah, we definitely do. This is something. This is really amazing. I have to try and calm myself down because when I get to talking to you guys about this, it's like I get so excited. I get so excited. But let's see here. So, Dr. Graham, do me a favor and talk to us about this Minority Mental Health Month. As I stated earlier, you are definitely, you brought it to my attention and I wasn't aware that this is what was happening this month. Can you talk a little bit about Minority Mental Health Awareness Month?
Sure, absolutely. And you know, Annette, it's new to me also. I didn't realize that they had designated a month for minority mental health until I ran up on it on social media or somewhere. And I did look at the history of it. I think it started in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. But the reason that it was brought to the forefront and our attention is because, you know, you and I, and probably Katherine as well, are aware of the fact that minorities are the most underserved population when it comes to mental health. And I think the statistics are that 50% of Caucasians have access to mental health in comparison to maybe 40% of African Americans, and then I think it's 30% for I don't want to say Asians. There's a broader term I'm thinking. Hispanics, and the other ethnic groups. So yes, so I think it's a good thing to bring awareness to our culture and our race, because typically we are the ones who are most resistant to receiving help when we're struggling mentally.
Yes, we sure are. And it's amazing. And I probably, and I'm not laughing, but I know my people, put it that way. But it always amazed me when I can look in the media, look in the news and see of a situation, maybe of an individual. We'll just take, oh God, what is his name? It was a real prominent pastor, Caucasian pastor, whose son had committed suicide.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know the name of his church.
Yes, and I cannot think of his name right now. And if anybody out there knows who I'm talking about, you can throw his name in the comment section. But I wanted to make mention of that because I thought it was really interesting because his son committed suicide. He had whatever kind of mental issues going on, committed suicide, but the father established like a foundation, you know. I don't know if it was maybe like in his son's name or something like that. But it was, I noticed how that was his way of dealing, you know, with that grief and the death of his son. And then on the flip side, unfortunately, you know, our brothers and sisters, you know, we don't migrate to doing things like that, like immediately. He acknowledged what was going on with his son mentally, and sometimes we don't necessarily do that. That just like you said, we shy away from it. We don't really want to own up to it. And you know, during this month, Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, we need to erase those stigmas. We need to get away from that because we need help. We need help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And excuse me, Annette, not to interrupt you, but you know, actually, historically, there are some reasons that our particular race is resistant. One of I think the main reason is because of the way that we were brought up, because we have struggled so much with different things, slavery and, you know, being discriminated against and things like that. So we really have some trust issues as well, but we've had to struggle, and we've had to deal with some things. And so we were taught to be strong and, and not to succumb or to buckle under all of the things that we had to endure as people of color. And
Yeah.
so we always were taught to pull up, by our own bootstraps and be strong, and we could take it, because if we made it through slavery, certainly we could, stand up against something that we thought was minor, like mental health issues.
Yeah.
And even in our own individual selves or our families, as Katherine has written just a wonderful book about, dysfunction. And most of that dysfunction does come from mental health issues. And,
Right.
all of us have someone in our family, or we know someone who has struggled for years with a mental health issue. But, we hide them. We don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's taboo. There are so many stigmas related to it in terms of us, being raised a certain way. And even historically, we've been experimented on. I think about the Tuskegee experiments, and I think about the lady who had her uh, her seeds.
Yes, her
Uh,
cells. Her
yeah,
cells were
yeah,
used. Yes.
right,
Yes,
right.
Henrietta Lacks.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Exact. Yeah, that's her name. Had her cells, her uh, you said it, Catherine, had them harvested or whatever, and
Exactly. And used for
generations
research.
were
Right.
born after that, and she or her family knew nothing, of course, about it. And so we do have some level of distrust,
Mm-hmm.
because we just don't know who's going to take advantage of us. And so we just shy away from sharing our most intimate problems with anyone outside of our families. And sometimes we don't even want to talk to people in our family about different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, so, there are reasons that the stigma exists within our culture and within our race. And it's unfortunate. But as you said at the beginning of the program, we do see some light at the end of the tunnel. More people are becoming aware
Mm-hmm.
that there is there's nothing wrong with trying to seek help when we are struggling mentally. It doesn't mean that we're weak, or for those of us who are of faith, that the term backsliding comes to mind, that we backslidden or we've lost, our relationship with God. Doesn't mean any of that. It just means that we are struggling mentally, just as we would struggle physically or emotionally.
Exactly. Oh man, yeah. Oh God, thank you so much, Mama Joyce. Oh, that is so good. That's good stuff right there. Okay, I'm a hop to Catherine because I want to ask you a question, but let me do this real quick. I did not acknowledge some of you that are on, and I'm so sorry. Deatrice, I see that you've come on, and I appreciate you. A. Williams Staten Jr. We appreciate you. Cornelius Blackney, I think I saw your Instagram and Facebook. How you do that? Okay. All right. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. Brandy is on. Thanks for joining us. And they're all saying great afternoon to you, ladies. I do not want to mispronounce this name. Ramchanda. Ramchanda. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Let's see. Our Mama Joyce. I love you, Mama. That's what Beatrice is telling you.
Oh, my baby.
She said here a comment, it is very refreshing to see. I think the tables were already turning, but those 2 years of COVID pushed mental health awareness to a whole new level. And
Oh, absolutely.
I would totally agree with you, Beatrice. That is so accurate. So accurate. I think we learned a lot about ourselves during these last almost 3 years. And that's mentally, spiritually, in every aspect. We learned a whole lot about ourselves. Janice Pritchard, I see you on. Thank you for watching. And Buddy Gill is here. Thank you. Melissa Green. Oh, thanks for watching. I know she's probably coming on to support Mama Graham on today. Thank you,
Oh,
Melissa.
I
Appreciate
appreciate that so much. Melissa is just such a sweetheart.
She is. She really is. She really is. Okay, let's see here. I did promise you that I wanted to ask you a question. Catherine, I mean, you can either hop on to the train that Dr. Graham started off with in that conversation, because, we did want to, not only, talk about this month as minority mental health awareness, but you mentioned something about historical aspects of trauma. I think that's what you brought up. Um,
Yes.
and let me read this here. The historical aspects of trauma that exaggerate our need to be strong and to not want or need any help.
Yes.
That's like
Yes.
our theme song or something, right? Or
Exactly.
what
I
I mean,
think
go ahead,
our
talk
theme
about that.
song is I can handle it. Our theme song is whatever comes my way, I'm all right. Our theme song is I got this. That's our theme song. And so the tables are turning for people to actually realize that by all appearances, it may look like all of those things are true. But one thing about mental wellness is that, like we can't really see it. Like if I break a limb or if I, injure myself in some way and it's bandaged or whatever, you can see that injury and you can take steps to, to help to heal. But mental wellness and talking about mental health issues is not something that we actually see. And so like the person looks fine to us, but the mental wellness, may be lacking. And you and both Dr. Graham is talking about the fact that we have always had to be strong. And I'm so glad as I scroll sometimes on social media, I actually see Black women saying that, I don't want to be strong. I want to be soft. I want to be kind of like the Sojourner Truth, ain't I a woman too?
Right.
Like, can I relax? Can I take time for myself? Do I always have to be in this grind? Do I always have to pick up pieces for everyone else? Do I always have to do this? And so we are recognizing that we need to be mindful of that. Yes. We are people too. And you can only, take so much without replenishing yourself. And yes, I did want to piggyback off of, I want to piggyback off of two things. So one thing I learned about myself in COVID is that I don't mind being alone. and that can work against me, in some ways. But I just wanted to say that I don't mind being alone. The second thing is and I know Dr. Graham knows all of the diagnostic criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder, which that comes with a whole bunch of criteria in the diagnostic book that I'm sure she's very familiar with. I'm not a clinician, but I think that when you look at the stress that we have gone through as a people, and she talked a little bit about slavery and how that was traumatic, we don't see any mental health services after that traumatic experience during those times. What we see is more and more alienation, more and more discrimination, more and more trying to keep people in their place. So we have never rectified that. And yes, we might say that, oh, that happened so many years ago, and I'm not a slave. My daddy wasn't a slave. There's no more slavery like we knew it for those years. But if you look at the research being done with epigenetics, And epigenetics talks about how your environment shapes your genes.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to, y'all, you can, we're in the information age. If you want to know more about epigenetics, you can Google that.
Right.
How your environment shapes your genes. So they did some research on the Holocaust survivors and those who became pregnant right before they went in, all of this. So they didn't. I don't know if you know about an epigenetic study done on us. Well, there's one done, because if you know anything about the African Americans and how we have one of the highest rates of infants being born underweight. Okay. And so they traced that all the way back to epigenetics, all the way back to slavery. Epigenetics is the study of how your environment affects your genes. So yes, no, we're not dealing with slavery right now, but we cannot look past and discount and throw away what our people went through. So it not only has a physical effect, but it also has an effect of those traditions that Dr. Graham was talking about that's being passed down. Okay. Yeah. And if you know anything about traumatic stress disorder, slavery and everything that has gone on in this country up to now is definitely trauma. It's traumatic. And one of the things, there are several things that happen when people are being traumatized. One of the things that I just want to bring out is hypervigilance. And hypervigilance is when the least, like, I'm just going to explain it like this. Dr. Graham probably could do a better job. But like, it's almost like we can have a very, very small, or it looks like a minor type of altercation.
Okay.
But we're already probably at 8 on a scale of 1 to 10, because we're hypervigilant. We're always, sometimes looking for things to happen that are not positive. So we're always hypervigilant. And so we're already kind of like at an 8. And then when the least little thing happens, we go to 10. We're already there.
Right.
And so if you look at the implications for teachers in the classroom, if you look at the implications even in work environments, in school environments, certainly in the family environments, that's one of the traits, or one of the things that happens when you have this unaddressed trauma, when you have post-traumatic stress disorder, which I'm not saying we all have it, but what I am saying is this trauma shapes the way we live and work and play and live out our lives each and every day. The other thing I want to say is that it helps us, or it causes us not to know when we are safe. So a person can be in a safe environment and think they are unsafe. And they can be in an unsafe environment and think that they are safe.
Wow. So
if you just think about how that can play out in everyday life,
now,
in our responses to those environments. Go ahead.
Is that's still under hypervigilant, you're saying?
No, that's not. That's actually that is under like an exaggerated. It really is under hypervigilance, because your antennas are always like up.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're safe, but you think you're not safe.
And then vice versa.
So it's like you can never, it's almost like, I think I talked before about revving a car. Like if you put a brick on your accelerator.
Yeah.
You can't, that car is going to eventually give out on you, because you can't just keep revving it all the time. You have to let up on that accelerator. But we find ourselves always having to be, because we're just unsure. It goes back to that lack of trust. it goes back to maybe times when we felt that we were safe and we became vulnerable in certain situations, but we thought we were safe. So now we're wondering, like, am I safe here in this environment? Which is, if you think about it, that's kind of scary not to know when you're safe, and to think that you're safe when you're not, and to be safe but think that you're not safe. So if you look at that, even in the workplace, you may think that everybody is against you or ganging up on you, but it might not be that. You may actually have safety in that place, but you don't know that you are safe.
Oh.
And then sometimes you have familiar people that you hang around with that you think you're safe with them, but you're not safe.
Ooh, wait.
Wow. How do you respond appropriately?
You had me stuck back at epigenetics, and now you went into
listen. Epigenetics is it's whole books on it, of course, but it is how your environment shapes your genes. And so I know the doctor can shed light on this, but that's just my 2 cents about what has already been said.
Now, see, you done came in here and just started up some stuff, Katherine.
She wrecked the place.
Yes, she did. I would agree. You wrecked the place. I would totally agree. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let me see. I want to read some comments that came in as you were talking. Deirdre said here, I grew up in a household with a parent, aunties, and uncles from what is labeled the greatest generation, which is also labeled the silent generation. They said, be quiet, suck it up, work and take care of your family, and the rest will sort itself out. They meant well, but that was not true, nor was it healthy. Oh my goodness. I neglected to tell you guys that we weren't going to be on here for 2 hours today, and I don't know how we're going to get all of this in today. Let's see. Buddy says here, we were raised up with what goes on in this house stays in this house mentality. And the do not embarrass me threat. Oh, yes, Jesus. So many issues.
Yes.
Untreated or unrecognized. Wow. Okay. All right. Dr. Graham, you
oh wow
that she wrecked the place. Let me hear from you real quick. Let me hear from you.
She did. And I'll just quickly say, I just really can relate to what she said. I enjoyed, her comments. And I was just thinking, I guess more so about what she wrote in her book. And I remember I was on a show, and I'm trying to do this really quickly. The host was an African-American young man, and then there were 2 Caucasians. And we were talking. In some way, I got into the discussion about my son, and as my son was growing up, and when he learned how to drive, I gave him the talk, keep your hands, if you're stopped by the police, keep your hands visible where he could see them. And the African-American young man said, my mother gave me the same talk. He said, but that really put a burden on me. That put a really great burden on me, and it made me really paranoid. I said, yeah, I could see that. But from my perspective, what I wanted was my son to come back home alive to me. And this was even way before the, what was the guy's name? Michael Brown situation. Black young men have always had to look over their shoulders. And so that was my point in bringing that up with those gentlemen. And then the Caucasian gentleman said, no, my mother has never had that kind of talk with me. And then I said, well, she wouldn't have to, because I wanted him to know that there is such a disparity between white young men and Black young men. And there are some unique challenges for people of color. We all know that, unique challenges. And then as Katherine said, there are a lot of residuals, a lot of effects that came from slavery and that came from being raised, as Deatrice has said, in a Black family. We all know that there are unique situations to all of that.
Yep. Yeah. Very
Yes.
true. Very true.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we were all relating to what Deatrice said. Oh, and Buddy too, because we
Right.
definitely had that. What goes on in this house stays in this house, and
Right.
you better not say anything. But yeah,
Mhm.
and it was almost to our detriment. We didn't really realize it then, but. Okay, I want to tread real lightly here. I want to tread real lightly because I don't want anyone to think that we are dismissing how we were raised and that was like ignorance or anything like that. No, that's not what we're saying. But I think that if we had come a little bit more into knowledge of certain things, then we would have been able to address some things, a whole lot
Differently.
easier.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Annette, I'm a promise I'm gonna keep my comments shorter, okay? But I want to say along those lines, the way I try to explain it, I used to teach parenting at one of the biggest correctional facilities in Illinois for women. And when I taught parenting, I would come in contact with the offenders there who talked about what they didn't get from their parents or their family. And I want to say this because I think that when you say you have to tread lightly, two things can be correct at the same time. Okay. So we can understand that if I need $10 and I ask you for $10 and you only have $5 and you give it to me, you didn't give me what I needed, but you gave me what you had. So these two things can be correct at the same time. The emotional nurturing that we received in our families is the effect of what my parents and the people who raised me had. They gave me what they had. Yeah. Okay. That does not make them bad because they gave me what they had. Now, think about this emotionally. If a person cannot meet your needs emotionally, but they gave you what they had, they can still be, it's not like we have to villainize them, make them a villain, because they were able to do what they could do. Okay. Did I need more? Probably. So two things can be true. They gave me what they had, but yet I still needed more.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So they don't, so we can love them and say that, whatever they did. That's why in my book, I have a section in each chapter that says, what makes this family strong? Because in a dysfunctional family, there are some strong things, strong traits that they had, okay? But it might not have been all that I needed. So then that left me lacking, and that's okay because I can maybe get those things in other relationships. I can learn, I can expand my mind, I can do some things to try to recoup that. But they don't have to be the villain. Right. Now I'm not talking, they don't have to be the villain. So those two things can be true. They didn't give me all that I needed, but they gave me what they had, and I could have still needed more, but yet they were unable to give it to me. Now that's not true in all families. Right. But I just wanted to say that. But no, that I'm glad you said that. That was a perfect explanation to so that we can understand. A lot of things we do in life sometimes are out of ignorance, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Ignorance in that sense is just unknowing, not really knowing, and so that kind of piggybacks off of what you were just talking about. They gave us what they had.
They gave us what they could. So for instance, if you see in certain families, maybe Uncle Bobo, he was kind of a little bit, strange mentally. Maybe he set off to the side or whatever. And somebody probably in the family, well, what's wrong with him? Oh, well, don't worry about it. He, then leave him in the corner and don't really get that help for him. And then, like Buddy said, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Don't you tell nobody about Uncle Bobo and that situation he had going on. But they didn't really know how to handle Uncle Bobo,
Right.
But
Right.
if they had the knowledge and to understand what Uncle Bobo was dealing with, then maybe they could have gotten him some help. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they didn't a lot of times, and they just kept pushing it back. Oh yeah, just leave him alone. Uncle Bobo really needed some help.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah,
they would say Uncle Bobo, oh, he ain't hurt. He ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Right.
But he's hurting.
He's hurting.
So he might not hurt anybody, but what about his hurt? Can we not address it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There it is right there. Oh my goodness. Guys, if you're just not joining us, you're listening today. I have two wonderful mental health professionals in the house on today. Katherine Staten is here, and then Dr. Joyce Graham she's here audio wise. That's why you don't see her face. But we are recognizing this month, July, as Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And so this is just a discussion that we're having. And I think it's key. It's important to have this discussion. We already mentioned about what we as a nation have been going through these past few years and how it has affected us mentally. It really has. You have where when we went on lockdown, you have the leaders or the powers that be tell us you have to stay in the house. You can't go anywhere. This pandemic, has broken out or whatever. And so you have to stay in. And so you already have people that are already dealing, with mental, the lack of mental health. How about I say it like that, before it even happened. And then you tell them they got to stay in the house, So it's like, okay, what do I do now? And then a lot of them did not have refuge in their own homes, so there's a whole lot that we were dealing with. In terms of our mental well-being. There's a whole lot.
Right.
And I think conversations like this it should help us. As we already stated at the beginning of this segment, that it seems like it's opening up more and more where people are open to listening to what could be happening with an individual. What's the question you asked, Dr. Graham? Typically, not what's wrong with them, but what happened to them.
Absolutely. And I like to say also, Annette, I'm glad you brought that up. And I think what we're saying, all three of us are saying the same thing. We're not saying that, COVID made things, I guess COVID was not good. But some of the things that came out of COVID kind of helped us refocus on what's more important than what's not. And then the other thing is that we have to look at is, we have to realize that dynamics have changed, not only with the whole entire nation, but within families. And that was before COVID. I like to focus on dynamics. So a lot of times things aren't good or bad, they're just different. And that's because the dynamics of a situation has shifted. And even within the Black families, every family is unique, and the dynamics and that family constellation is different. So It's not that, our parents were doing anything wrong. It's just that, like someone has already said, and I know my parents used to always say, we did the best we could, like Katherine brought up. That's what they would say. We did the best we could with what we had to work with at that particular time. So that answer that they gave us was, to me, it was good enough.
Yeah, I agree. Ooh, this is some good stuff y'all talking today. Lord have mercy. Oh my goodness, this is good. And I hope even you that are watching it or listening can understand what we're saying here, and can find some help or assistance, or maybe, you can pass it on to someone else. All of us, and the three of us on here, we have a heart for people, and we have a heart for wanting, to make sure that whatever we give out is good information, of course. But also another thing, we don't want anybody to think that you're alone, that you're dealing with this situation, whether it's yourself or a family member, a loved one, or whatever. Many people have been affected mentally, or have had the absence of mental health. I kind of like to say that maybe they're to kind of allow people to accept it a little bit more, the absence of mental health, instead of just saying, another term. But there is help. And again, I always say too, again, sometimes when you can talk about things, we can get things off your chest. When then there are a few things that can happen. You'll realize you're not the only one, dealing with that. And then, there be connections made, and you can get that help and assistance that you need. I do want to throw this in as a little plug for both of my guests. They both have phenomenal books out, that's dealing, with mental health. Because Dr. Graham said it earlier, dysfunctions, the book that Katherine Staten has written. Oh my God, yes, that's mental health all in there. Why don't you tell them where they can find your book, Katherine, and I'll let Dr. Graham share the same about hers.
Okay. So the name of my book is Descendants of Dysfunction: What We Can Learn from the Bible's Dysfunctional Families. And there's 7 standalone chapters that talk about dysfunction in 7 different families. It also gives at the end, is this your family? Is this dysfunction something that you can relate to, or possibly a family that has a similar situation? And then that portion of the book gives some ideas or some thoughts about how they possibly can navigate that dysfunction. And then there's a place for them to either write notes, or if they want to begin to formulate some goals, or if there's a list of people they need to have, so they can use it for that. And you can get the book at www.descendantsofdysfunctionbook.com. And so that's where you can get the book. It's more expensive on Amazon than it is if you go to the link. So Descendants of Dysfunction: What We Can Learn from the Bible's Dysfunctional Families, descendantsofdysfunctionbook.com. Thank you so much, Annette.
Of course. I wanted to make sure I put that up. And I'm going to let Dr. Graham talk about her book as well. Her latest, I think both of you have a couple of books out. But Dr. Graham, your latest book that you've been promoting?
Yes. It's entitled Mental Health Issues in the 21st Century Church. And as I think more about it, I could have left the church part out because we know that mental health issues aren't only in the church, but I think I said church because I was trying to target pastors, because they typically try to handle everything themselves. And I was trying to let them know and make them aware of the fact that there are mental health professionals out there who could help them. Yeah. And my book was based on my own personal experiences, what I experienced when I struggled with mental health issues, and then what I observed in other people, my family, my friends, and all of my connections, really. Mental health and those kinds of issues, they do not have any, particular people that they affect. They affect everybody. And in my book, I list the most common mental health issues. I have some case studies as well of actual case studies. of either people I've seen in my practice or, again, what I've observed. And I have a whole list of resources if a person were to need help with a mental health issue, that there's just a host of referrals and resources that I list in the back of the book. And the book is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or anywhere, I like to say, where fine books are sold. I always wanted to say that.
I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna say that one. I'm gonna say that one day, Dr. Joyce.
Wherever fine books are sold. That sounded like a real nice commercial, didn't it? I love it. Yeah, that's true. And trust me, guys, I have both books. I recommend them both. Please make sure you purchase them if you haven't done so already. I think when I put up the promo, who was that? Oh God, and I don't know if she's on here today. Because we had a few books that we gave away when Katherine was on, and they did receive. Actually,
that's how I got her book.
Right. Dr. Graham was
one of the winners.
Right. And then someone else put on the post that they received their book. They're so excited that they got it, and they're pleased with it. I've read both books, and it's just, I'm telling you, these ladies take their time out and address these things that you really wouldn't see, being addressed. I learned some new words with both of them. New terminology, and I'm like, wow. And so I don't know, type of person I am. When I'm reading something, I try to see how I can relate to it, to understand it, a little bit better. But I mean, it's wonderfully laid out. They didn't miss a beat in here, and my hat is off to both of them. So make sure, Katherine, do me a favor. I don't know if you can while I'm talking, type in your website, because you said it's cheaper on the website as opposed to Amazon. Because we all know we can go to Amazon. Today is even, I think, one of the prime days for Amazon anyway. But but if you can type it in the on the Facebook live feed and go to the comment section, maybe type in your the website. Okay, I can do that. Yeah, so that everyone will be able to once this live feed is over, y'all can go buy these books, right? I recommend you to do that. I think again that they have they were both so brave enough to step out and to share these things, to talk about these things. Dr. Graham, I've been calling her brave for a long time. Like she said, she penned this from her personal things that she was dealing with. And I think that when you come from a personal viewpoint, it gives a whole different dynamic, just in my mind, because you're being transparent and you're sharing. Right. But that is so that you can help somebody else. And so that is what you see in these books, and you'll definitely be helped. So trust me, you do not want to miss these books. You need to get them. I want to read some more comments and maybe recognize some individuals before we end on today. I see my aunt Robbie Weathington did join us. Thank you so much, Auntie. I appreciate you. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I read this comment from Beatrice. Yes, I believe most, not all, of the African American community lives in a constant state of hypervigilance. And that was a good one too. That's a good word. And if any other trauma has happened to us, we are always ready for the next bad thing to happen. Always waiting for the next shoe to drop. Very true, Beatrice. Very true. And we need to get out of it. We need to break out of that. And these ladies are doing this with these books. They're trying to help us to break out of this. Okay. Apostle Hunt, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. Vivian Garrett, I appreciate you. Deidre says truth, and I certainly don't hold it against my elders. I love them. They were wonderful. I agree, Deidre. Karen, you finally did join us. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Buddy says, I am really enjoying these two ladies, Dr. Joyce Graham and Dr. Katherine Staten. he gave y'all some titles, and you
We'll take them.
I know,
We'll take them. Yes.
definitely experts in what y'all talking about. So yeah, he said keep these ladies coming back. And I always tell my guests, if y'all hear good comments from Buddy Gill, then y'all know y'all have arrived. Because Buddy Gill, he doesn't just throw out, saying, oh, it was good, if he didn't really believe that. And that's one thing I appreciate about that young man. So I appreciate him joining us and giving his input. Jamon Gaston, I see that you joined us. Thank you so much. Okay, Katherine, thank you for putting that in there. Okay, guys, so if you want to go to her the website, descendantsofdysfunctionbook.com. And that is the name of the book, of course. And you can go there. You can purchase the book for a little bit cheaper than you would if you were going on Amazon. But
yeah, and I also put the link there. I put another link. If they just click on it, it'll take them straight there.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So you guys have no excuse. You guys have no excuse. And then I'm going to make sure I put in the Dr. Graham, you can the link for Amazon. I'll make sure I put that on the Facebook live feed for you as well, so that they would be able to get directly to your book.
Thank you.
This is tremendous. This is something, again, we needed to discuss. We will probably have to come back for a little bit more, or 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, whatever. But you know what? It's never, we can't talk about it enough. We cannot talk about it.
That's so true. That's true.
And we only touched on maybe not even a quarter of whatever we could discuss on today, as it all relates to it. So we're going to get out of here, guys. But there's nothing. Oh, Deidre says she's thanking God for all of you. All right, such an informative and enlightening show. Blessings to all. Let me do this before we go. Katherine, can you give us some words to end with on today that you want to share?
Okay, sure, I will. I am just thinking about the importance of putting mental wellness on the front burner in our lives. You know how we talk about, well, I can't do that right now. I got to put that on the back burner. This is something that you can, that hopefully you won't, and we should not put on the back burner, because I think that it affects us in our lives. I talked about earlier, school, work, play, family, more than we know. And you don't have to have a diagnosis to want to be mentally well. Just like you work out physically to keep physically well, hopefully you eat healthy foods to be physically well. You want to be mentally well. You want mental wellness, not just like mediocre getting by. I want to be as mentally well as I can. So let's put that on the front burner in our lives and in our families.
I love that. I love that, because what will we do? What we do with our cars when our cars need some help? We're gonna take it to the mechanic, right? What we're gonna do? What we're gonna do when we feel a little something in our knees and then a little side or whatever? We go, doctor, can I get an appointment? Right. You know what I'm saying? So we do it for our medical, physical bodies. So we do need to make sure, and thank you for saying that. Take some time out. We need to have mental health care, mental health wellness, and don't throw it on the back burner. Let's address it. Okay, Dr. Graham, you want to wrap up?
Okay, sure. I would just like to echo what Katherine has already said. It is time to make mental health a priority and not put it off or put it, like she said, on the back burner. Also, what I like to leave with our listeners is that mental illness does not discriminate. It can happen to anybody. Anybody could be struggling mentally. And what I like to share is that I did write some of my personal history dealing with mental health. And I did that because I wanted people to know that I am a therapist And I found myself sitting on the opposite side of the counseling table. There was a time when I was what they call a client, I guess, for mental health. And I had to have counseling, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But I am a therapist, and I could not treat myself. So I went to a therapist to get treatment. And so I encourage everyone to do that. And like I said, I am not ashamed to admit that. I will share that. I share that everywhere I go, every platform or venue that is offered to me. I share that story as an encouragement for those of you who are struggling to seek help. Thank you, Annette.
Beautiful. Y'all done came in here and struck a match, lit a fire. My goodness. But no.
And then can I just say one thing? I know we out of time, but I just want to encourage Dr. Graham. I'm glad you put the 21st Century Church on your book. I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah.
Because we need that focus.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like you said, we know that in most churches, everything flows down. So if the head is not concerned with it, the congregation probably won't be concerned with it either. But I just want to say that I'm glad that you did that.
Thank you. Thank you, Katherine.
I am too. You, especially if you grew up in the church. Oh, Dr. Green, you probably heard that Katherine was a former first lady. So she.
No, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
She knows about all of that.
The book.
My husband pastored for 40 years. So
wow.
Yes. Wow. So yeah, we know about that, and when you're involved in a situation or organization, you definitely want what's best for them as well. And when you see that, there's some things going on there mentally, you want that to be addressed. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I totally agree with that statement, Katherine. I'm glad that she did at 21st Century Church. We need help. We need help. We just bottom line. We do. Guys, if I did not call your name on today, if I didn't recognize you, charge it to my head, not my heart. But I do appreciate you guys for joining us on Instagram and on Facebook. Later on, we will upload this entire segment to my YouTube channel at GetCaughtInANet Incorporated. Hey, if you have not subscribed to it, make sure you do so. You will not be disappointed. We're going to get out of here, and we won't be back next week, but the following week with Dr. Hill for our monthly health and wellness segment. So you don't want to miss that. And make sure you can always go to my website to get caught up on anything. And we will see you soon, guys. On the next session of Get Caught in a Net.
Get caught in a net with